Hello, welcome to the review of the paper Security Analysis of the Estonian Internet Voting System. My name is Marcela Murillo. I am currently enrolled as a student of Georgia Tech OMSCS program. This review is for the Cyber Physical System Security class. In this review, I plan to cover introduction, background, observation, experimental methodology, attacks, discussion, and conclusion. Estonia became the first country to offer Internet voting nationally in 2005. In the most recent election, over 30% of participating voters cast their ballots online. Despite many concerns, the system has not previously been subjected to detailed independent security analysis. The system remains controversial. For these reasons, the Estonian Internet voting system represents a unique and vital case study in election security. This paper evaluates the system's security using a combination of observational and experimental techniques. The authors observed operations during the October 2013 local election and test the feasibility of such attacks by reproducing the iVoting system in a lab environment. They returned to Estonia in May 2014 and shared these findings with election officials and the public. Unfortunately, government ignores their recommendations. In 2017, the Estonian government announced that a group of international security researchers had identified a potential security vulnerability that affects the use of Estonia's ID card and digital IDs, including those held by e-residents. The problem has now been fully assessed, and the solution is under development and is expected in the near future. The analysis focuses on the 2013 iVoting system with the national ID card. This research excludes mobile ID cards review, which is another option to vote online. Let's review the national ID card and the main security components. The national ID cards are smart cards with the ability to perform cryptographic functions. With the use of card readers and client software, Estonians can authenticate to websites. The cards are popularly used for online banking and accessing e-government services. Each card contains two RSA key pairs for authentication and digital signatures. Certificates binding the public keys to the card's whole identity are stored in the card and public database. The card does not allow exporting private keys, and each key is associated with a PIN code. The server infrastructure is configured in a public ceremony 1 week before the election and consists of 4 servers: vote forwarding server, vote storage server, log server, and vote counting server. Vote forwarding server verifies voter eligibility and acts as an intermediary to the back-end vote storage server. Vote storage server stores signed encrypted votes during the online voting period. Log server collects events and statistics from the vote forwarding server and the vote storage server. Vote counting server never connects to the network and is used during the final stage of the election. Officials use a DVD to copy encrypted votes from the vote storage server. In Estonia, i-voting is opened 10 days before the election day. I-voting system is based on the so-called envelope scheme. The voter application encrypts the vote and the random number generated by the computer with the election's specific public key forming the inner envelope, and signs the encrypted votes by using a digital signature tool forming the outer envelope. A vote encrypted with a public key can be decrypted only with a private key. There are three main processes: casting, verification, and tabulation. Casting. At the start of each election, the election authority publishes a set of voting client applications for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. The client is customized for each election and includes an election-specific public key for encrypting the voted ballot and a TLS certificate for the server. The figure shows the protocol for casting a vote. Verification. The voter can confirm that her vote was correctly recorded using a smartphone app provided by the election authority. The server allows verification to be performed up to 3 times per vote and up to 30 minutes after casting. The figure shows the protocol for verification. Tabulation. The figure shows the sequence that occurs after an election. After online voting has ended, the storage server processes the encrypted votes to re-verify the signatures and remove any revoked or invalid votes. During a public counting session, officials export the set of valid votes after stripping off the signatures, leaving only anonymous encrypted votes. These are burned to a DVD to transfer them to the counting server. The counting server is attached to a hardware security module, HSM, that contains the election private key. The server uses an HSM to decrypt each vote and tallies the votes for each candidate. Officials export the totals by burning them to a DVD. These results are combined with the totals from in-person polling stations and published as the overall results of the election. Authors witnessed the operation of the i-voting server in 2013. During that period, they reviewed published artifacts from the election and identified a range of problems. Observations: inadequate procedural controls. They found a variety of issues in the procedural controls. Procedures for handling anomalous conditions that could imply an attack appear to be inadequately specified or do not exist. For example, tamper-evident seals are used on the server racks in the data center. When asked what would happen if the seals were found to be compromised, election staff responded that they were unsure. Unusual situations were treated in ad hoc manner. For example, on multiple occasions, they observed as data center staff restarted server processes to resolve technical glitches and repeated failed commands rather than troubleshooting the root cause. The machine reported errors stating that the drive configuration had changed. Instead of investigating the cause of the alert, staff bypassed the message. Even when procedural safeguards were clear, they were not always followed. Observations lacks operational security. During the election setup, they found the following anomalies, to name a few. Insecure software downloads. The videos show election workers downloading software for use in the setup process from a public website over an unsecured HTTP connection. Keystrokes reveal root passwords. Workers unintentionally type passwords in national ID cards and pins in view of the camera. Unsecured build systems. Workers using an unclean personal computer, and you can see in one of the videos, you can see shortcuts to go an online gambling site. The author finds anomalies in daily maintenance as follows. There appear to be no 24/7 security personnel nor any definitive information on who monitors the cameras. Workers logging in to the election servers under the root account and perform operations at the shell. Encrypted daily backups and DVDs holding updated voter lists from the population register were casually transported in workers' backpacks. After the votes were decrypted on the counting server, an unknown technical glitch prevented workers from writing the official counts and log files to the DVD. Observations: insufficient transparency. The election officials have implemented some transparency measures, but they are incomplete and insufficient to establish the integrity of election results fully. The transparency measures cannot show whether malicious actions were performed on the servers or hard disks. Election officials have made large parts of the server software open source. However, security critical pieces of code are missing from the published source. Observations: vulnerabilities in published code. They discovered some minor bugs and vulnerabilities while examining the published code, such as a denial of service attack against the voting process. If the attacker sends many specially crafted requests containing fields with very long names, an attacker can exhaust the server's log storage, after which it will fail to accept any new votes. Another vulnerability was a shell injection in a server-side user interface that is intended to allow operators to perform a predetermined administrative task, which means that the vulnerability would allow such an operator to execute arbitrary shell commands on the election servers with root privilege. Experimental methodology. The authors set up a copy of the system in their lab, reproducing the software and configuration used for the 2013 election. After setting up the mock election, they attempted to compromise the system. They made the following assumptions. The attacker could obtain a detailed knowledge of the voting system's operation. If reverse engineering is required, the attacker would have sufficient human and technical resources to accomplish this in a short time scale. For client-side attack, the attacker has the ability to deliver malware to voters' home computers. Attacks. The voting system places significant trust in client and server components, making these highly attractive targets for an attacker. There are two types of attacks we plan to evaluate: client-side and server-side attacks. We plan to review each on the following slides. Client-side attacks. There are several ways that an attacker might try to infect a sufficient number of Estonian clients to alter election results in a close race, such as rent bots from pre-existing botnets, discover or purchase a zero-day exploit against popular software used in Estonia. This will cause to infect the official voting client before it is delivered to voters. There are two experimental client-side attacks. Ghost click attack. They use malware on the client machine to silently replace the user's vote with a vote in favor of an attacker-selected candidate. Bad verify attack. Smartphone is compromised at the same time as the client PC or laptop. An attacker can deploy a dishonest verification app that colludes with malware on the PC to fool the voter. Server-side attacks. An attacker who infects the counting server with malicious software can violate the integrity of the count and Ballot secrecy critical security properties. Another infection strategy would be to compromise the server software before it is installed at the beginning of the election. The authors pursue this route in their experiments as follows: injecting malware. This is to introduce malicious code into the counting server by using a chain of infection that parallels the configuration process. The authors experimented with a form of this attack to successfully change results in their mock election setup. Defeating integrity checking. The authors implemented a custom rootkit that defeats the hash verification. Server-side attacks. Vote stealing payload. After passing the hash check, the tainted ISOs are used to spread the infection. During the counting process, this payload acts as wrapper around the process responsible for using the HSM to decrypt votes. This allows the malware to alter the decrypted votes prior to returning them to the counting application. Then the altered votes are then counted and released as the official results. There are other avenues of infection, such as missing programs from the server source code repository that are critical are not reviewable by the public, and there is not integrity checked through any visible procedures. Zero-day exploits are yet another potential attack vector. Attacking Ballot secrecy. If the attacker is a dishonest insider with access to this DVD and to the complete set of signed, encrypted ballots, and some mechanism for infecting the counting server with malicious code, then the attacker can then decode this information and use it to associate every voter's digital signature and hence their identity with their vote. Discussion. The authors want to acknowledge the great length that the ivory system developers, security staff, and officials go to in their efforts to protect the election system. Estonians support e-voting because they believe there is a widespread fraud in the country's paper-based system. The author believes that e-voting system can do little to help since nearly 80% of votes are still cast on paper. In recent years, researchers have developed methods that can dramatically increase the security of paper ballots. In conclusion, online voting is complicated due to the need to ensure accurate outcomes while simultaneously providing a strongly secret ballot. The e-voting system designers accepted certain trade-offs, including the need to trust the central servers, concluding that although they could take steps to reduce these risks through procedural controls, the procedures Estonia has in place to guard against attack and ensure transparency offer insufficient protection. A state-level attacker, sophisticated criminal, or dishonest insider could defeat both the technological and procedural controls to manipulate elections outcome. Authors recommended that Estonia discontinues use of the e-voting system. Reference. These are the references I used to create the slides and presentation if you want to look into this topic any further. Thank you.